Hi class! Today we're going to learn about the 5 basic note-taking strategies. So our goal today is that students will be able to learn how to use the 5 basic note-taking strategies. When we're learning this strategy, there's a few steps we need to follow, so it is important to learn the steps. So the first step is write down the title on top of the page. So we know what we're talking about. It's there, it's clear, it's at the top of the page. Then the next step is to record the headings and underline them. So you can just, most of the time the headings are at like the top of a paragraph. They're pretty normally easy to identify in a passage. So then as you read only, select important ideas by highlighting them. When you're highlighting, you don't need to go and highlight the entire paragraph. You can do little short sections of the sentence. You just need to do little parts of the sentence. And then record the ideas using abbreviated sentences. This can be like what you think is the most important things out of the section. Obviously, you don't want to do a ton of ideas. It's just the main points, and you want to abbreviate them so you save some time. Also, for this section, you don't need like a certain amount of ideas for each different section. You can have 1 or 2 or 5. It kind of depends on what you think is important from the passage. So it's also important to use this strategy because it helps you organize your ideas. You're gonna understand the text a lot better. It'll help you with your comprehension. You'll be able to understand what you read better. And it also will kind of act as a visual representation of what you learn. Like, it'll be easy to like visually go back and see like, yep, I thought this was important. Or you can go and identify the headings and find the important ideas in that heading. Another thing is that's important with this, it'll help you eventually make your own note-taking strategy. This kind of just gives you a good basis of figuring out what's important in a text, and eventually you'll be able to go and use your own note-taking strategy. But we're not going to learn about that today because everybody has different things. We're just doing these 5 steps today. So we're gonna read The Amazing Brain today that everybody has in front of them. So since we should get the title of the book at the top here, and since we're going to start with 3 brains in 1, we're just going to skip to the second section because it'll be easier to do this note-taking strategy with this. So then, since we're starting with 3 brains in 1, we'll have to write on the top of the page there, 3 brains in 1. So neurons connect the brain to the rest of the body, delivering instruction to muscle and bringing back information from your senses. They're also connected by 3 main parts of the brain: the brainstem, cerebellum, and cerebrum. Each brain controls specific body activities. Oh, look, we're coming up to a heading here that says brainstem. You guys can see that right in front of you, or brainstem. So we're going to put the heading brainstem, and we're going to underline it. Yep. So the brainstem is sometimes called the lizard brain. That's because it does pretty much the same thing in lizards as in you. Controls body processes that are essential for survival. Well, that seems pretty important that they can control body processes for that since they're essential for survival. So I'm going to highlight it, and then I'm going to write controls body processes right there. Day and night, your brain stem keeps your breathing, digestion, heartbeat, and other automatic body processes running smoothly. That seems pretty important too. So I'm going to write that down there. And since now I only thought there was 2 important things from that paragraph, so now we're going to move on to the next one. Oh, now we're at the cerebellum. So I'm going to write the cerebellum, and I'm going to underline it. Every time you move your body, your cerebellum is at work. Coordinating muscle movements, well, that seems pretty important. That's what it does. So I should write that down, and I'm going to highlight it too. As you can see, I'm highlighting as we go. It adds targeting instructions when other part of your brain send a movement signal using information such as your body's current speed and position. Well, that seems kind of important that it sends target instructions. So I think I'm going to highlight that and write it on my information. With the cerebellum's guidance, you can touch your nose in one smooth motion. Without movement, Without the movement would be jerky, or you might even miss your nose completely. The cerebellum also stores memories of muscle movement. That seems kind of important. I'm going to highlight that. Muscle memories become stronger with repetition, which is why practice helps some movements like playing a guitar, skateboarding, becomes even automatic. So since I highlighted that, I'm also going to write that down. And look, now we're coming on our story. If you're following along, you can see now we're coming to another heading. So I should write the heading down in front of you. The cerebrum is the largest part of the brain. That seems kind of important that the cerebrum is the largest part of the brain. This is where most high-level brain activity takes place, including thought, speech, learning, and emotions. Okay, I'm going to highlight that. That seems pretty important. The cerebrum also interrupts information from senses. That seems kind of important. I think I'm going to highlight that. Sensory information reaches the brain as electric signals, which the cerebrum interrupts as sound, images, and other sensations. It compares the result with your stored memories and attaches meaning. A stem of electric impulses becomes a purple bus or a crowing rooster. You may be surprised to learn that ignoring things is important part of the cerebrum's job. To understand why, take a moment to notice everything you hear, taste, smell, and feel. Your senses constantly flood the brain with information. By screening out some things, the cerebrum helps you focus on what remains. Well, I highlighted that one part, so I think I'm going to add it because that was like a big part of senses. Oh, and I also highlighted that, so I'm going to write that down too. Oh, and now look at this. Now we're to another heading. So I'm going to write the heading down. Then we're going to read it. If you could look inside your head, you'd see that the cerebrum is divided into two halves called hemispheres. Well, left and right brain. That kind of makes sense, and they're called hemispheres. I'm going to highlight that. Probably write that down because that seems pretty important to me. A bundle of nerves called the corpus callosum connects the hemispheres and carries messages between them. The hemispheres control opposite sides of the body. That's kind of important that your left hemisphere controls the right side of your body. That's interesting. So as it says, your left hemisphere sends the signal to raise your hand. Your brain is in control when you shake your left foot. Although some tasks can be done by either hemisphere, the two are not identical. The right brain usually controls creativity, artistic skills, and interrupting what you see. The left brain generally controls speech, writing, and math skills. Well, I think I'm going to highlight the hemispheres control opposite sides of the body. That seems pretty important, so I'm going to write that down. Each brain hemisphere has 4 sections called lobes. Each lobe has specific jobs. However, scientists didn't realize this until the 1800s when a doctor recorded the strange story of Phineas Gage. That seems pretty important that each hemisphere exists. Oh, look it. Now we're done with the headings and we're going to move on. So we're going to use the same kind of note-taking strategy that we just learned. We're going to do it all together now. So we're going to read the same story, but this time we're going to read the studying the brain section. So to start out, what do we need to do? You can look back on the steps on the worksheet in front of you. So, yep. Good job. Yep, we need to write the title. So we can put that right on the top. Next, and it doesn't even know what we need to do. Remember, you can look back at your steps. Yep, that's exactly what we need to do. We need to write the section down. So now, does somebody want to start reading? Where do you think you're going to stop? Yep, we're going to stop at the next heading. Okay, go ahead and read. Yep, now we're going to write down the heading for this next section. So while they're reading, highlight ideas you guys think are important at the end of the section we can discuss. Yep, those were all great ideas. I thought those were all super important sections of the heading too. Now we're going to, yep, good job guys. Now we're going to write the next heading down. So, does anybody else want to read? Yep, okay, you can read. Remember to listen for important ideas and highlight throughout this. Alright, so what do people think are important ideas from that section? Yep, good job. Those were all very important ideas. So what do we need to do next? Yep, we need to write down the next heading. What else do we need to do to the heading? Good, yep, we need to underline it. So we can write that down. So, yep, you can read. I remember to listen for important ideas. Yep, those were all very important ideas as in that heading. So now that we finished that section, so I'm going to have you guys read the last section in the Amazing Brain. Read the Maintain Your Brain section. I have the steps right here on the board, so you can go look back and refer to them. Use the same note-taking section. Be sure to organize your notes, have them super neat. Read silently and independently. Raise your hand if you have questions. I can come by and help you.